Welcome to Black and White and Beyond. I'm Lee Varis, your host for this Photoshop tutorial. We're going to examine the world of black and white, but with digital photography we are almost always going to be starting with color. So this tutorial is really about methods of conversion. We will look at some different methods, and I'll also suggest why you might not want to use the black and white adjustment tool in Photoshop. We will be especially interested in the grayscale channel structure of color images, and we will look at the channel mixer and also at blending channels in layers. Finally, we will look at toning and colorizing black and white. We'll be using this very colorful photo of a sunflower to start our exploration of black and white conversion. And the important thing to remember with all color images is that any color image can exist in at least 10 different grayscale channels. These represent the 3 different color workspaces in Photoshop, shown here from the top down: RGB, LAB, and CMYK. Each of the different channels can offer something unique for our black and white conversions, allowing us to go from here to this very dramatic black and white rendering very easily. We will also look at this image and convert to this dramatic black and white, and then we'll explore the addition of color tones like sepia toning, and finally a split tone effect. So let's get started. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and here's our colorful image. And I'm going to actually compare a couple of different methods of conversion. So I'm going to duplicate this image. We'll do image duplicate, and we'll call this, this will be black and white, using the Photoshop's black and white tool. And we'll make another duplicate, and this will be channel mixer. And we'll make another duplicate, and this one will be channel layers. Okay, so here we have, we'll go to our original image, and the default choice used to be simply to go up to Image, Mode, and then select Grayscale. And you get this little kind of scary dialogue saying, discard color information, are you sure? And then suggesting that to control the conversion you should use Image Adjustments Black and White. So we'll go ahead and discard it, and this is your basic black and white conversion. It's color to grayscale. Okay, so now we'll go to the other color copy here, and we'll get the black and white adjustment layer here. So I'm selecting create a new black and white adjustment layer, and this is the suggested tool, which of course here with the default arrangement of sliders it's doesn't really look that great, but we know we have a yellow flower. We can make the yellow color brighter so it looks more natural. And we can make blue darker. In fact, we can go really dark with the blue and get a kind of almost an infrared look out of it. So it's very easy to see how this tool works. The image is broken up into color ranges, and our color ranges, we can, for instance, make the green leaves a little brighter or a little darker. You can see that just moving the sliders around, you have a lot of control over how light or dark things in the image become. Now, I want to point out something here. Let's zoom in on this area here. And we can see actually some artifacting around the edge of the leaves here. This is a JPEG image, so part of this artifacting is just the JPEG artifacts inherent in the image to begin with are being emphasized by all the extra contrast here. But I also want to point out, see this sort of light edge here. That's going to be an important layer when we compare this to other methods. So I'm going to look at this image now, and we're going to use a different method to convert to black and white. One of my favorite methods is using the channel mixer. So I make a channel mixer adjustment, and the presets for the channel mixer are all black and white conversions, and they're named with a color filter name, the filters that we used to use in black and white photography. When shooting with black and white film, we put colored filters over the lens. So this simulates those colored filtered effects. So for instance, if I choose a red filter here, I will get a black and white conversion that essentially represents 100% of the red channel. Okay, and we can do things like change the mix. So this is now 100% red. We can say we want 50% red and 50% green, and it still adds up to 100 here, so we don't alter the overall luminosity. So we have a white point, for instance, but it looks different than just 100% of the red channel. The other thing we can do is do some sort of interesting effects. So if I subtract now, I break the rules here and I subtract the green channel and add more of the red channel. Here we're not really adding up to 100 anymore, and I'm creating a kind of a saboteur, a solarization effect. Let's go back to our standard blend here of 50-50. And so if you follow this rule and you always add it up to 100, you're going to get something that stays close to the original luminosity of the image and doesn't distort the white point of the image. Now, in this particular image, we can also do something unusual with the blue channel. We can subtract the blue brightness. So I can make this background black, just like we did in the previous example, but now I want to point out a difference here. Because we're using the channel structure, not the colors of the image to control the conversion, we get a much smoother edge here, and you see we don't have the same kind of artifacting that we had using the black and white tool. So this is something to keep in mind whenever you're doing a conversion and you're controlling the conversion by color range. It's a little bit different than controlling the conversion by actual channels, because the actual channels of a color image are, of course, grayscale. And when we blend them together this way, we get a kind of a smoother, nicer result. But let's look at another method of doing a conversion here. Going back to my color image, and again, remembering that a color image is actually made up of 3 grayscale channels. Here's the red channel, the green channel, and the blue channel. We can actually take this color image and split the channels apart. Come over here to the channel options flyaway menu, and you'll see down here split channels. When I select split channels, the document breaks apart into 3 separate documents, and we have the red document, the green document, and the blue. So now that they're separate documents, I can do something like drag the green document on top of the red document. So I've selected the green tab, and I'm taking the move tool here, and I'm going to click in the image and hold down the shift key and drag up to that red document, drag down and let go of the mouse while holding down the shift key. And now if I go to my layers here, you can see I've got the green layer is on top of the red. There's the red channel document with the green layer on top of it. Now, because we have separate layers, we can also take advantage of the blend modes. So for instance, I happen to like the darker sky of the red layer here, but the white flower petals they're too bright in the red channel. They look much nicer in the green channel. So what if I could take the darker petals from the green channel and keep everything else from the red channel? And we can do that very easily by changing the apply mode here from normal to darken. So now the only thing that got darker is the petals and the center of the flower. because it's a layer, I can add a layer mask. So if I go down here and add a layer mask, and now I can paint out using black in the layer mask over the center of the flower. If I want the brighter center of the flower to come out, I want to reveal that from the red layer underneath. I'll just mask it out. So now we've done something a little more sophisticated than a simple channel blend, but we're not done yet. Let's see what other kind of trouble I can get into here. I'm going to get the blue channel document here. And now you're probably thinking, well, this is not very useful. What can I use this channel for? And it is actually quite useful. If we invert it, I could go Image Adjustments, Invert, or Command or Control I, and now it's exact negative of the way it was before. And let's drag that on top of our red channel document. Hold down the Shift key, click in the middle of the image, and drag up to the red layers document tab. That comes forward, and now we drop it down on top, and now I have the blue. It's actually the inverted blue channel on top of everything. And if we change this from normal to multiply, I now get back that sort of dark infrared sky look. But again, because there's a layer there, I can add a layer mask, and I can get a gradient into the layer mask here. Let's do a black to white gradient. So it will make sure I have my linear gradient selected, and I'm going to drag up while holding down the Shift key to constrain it. See, if I don't hold down the Shift key, it's hard to get it to go perfectly perpendicular. But if I hold it down, I can get it to go absolutely straight. And now I've created a graduated filter effect that without any masking or anything, and this cannot simply be duplicated using the channel mixer or certainly the black and white tool. So going back and reviewing here, here's our black and white with the artifacts and the edge around the edge of the leaves. Here's our channel mixer. It's much cleaner, but we don't have that same strength in the petals as we have in our other document, which has now a nice gradient in the sky, something that we could not have created using the other method. Okay, so you've seen 3 different approaches here, and I think you'll agree that this approach has a lot of flexibility in it and allows us to do some more interesting things. Let's look at the next document here. Here's my shot of the wave in Coyote Buttes. This is a very protected section of the canyon country right between Arizona and Utah. Very difficult area to get to, and the Park Service keeps a lid on it. You actually have to get permission via a lottery in order to get into this place. Anyway, a number of years ago I took a picture of this, and I'd like to convert it to black and white. So my strategy always is to look at the channels. So we'll look and see what the different channels have to offer. So here's the red channel. Typically the red channel is always going to have a nice sky, nice contrast in the sky. There's the green channel. Sky is a lot paler, and but the rocks look better. And here's the blue channel. Now the blue channel has the darkest rocks, and I think I'm actually interested in starting from this dark place and building up the contrast in the rocks. So let's do that. Only this time we're not going to split the channels. I'm going to keep it in color, and I'll show you another method to get your channels into the layers. So we're going to make an empty layer. So I go down here to the bottom of the layers panel, click on create new layer. I've got an empty layer. This is going to be our blue channel. So I'm going to label it. Now in order to get the blue channel in there, I'm going to go to our friend over here, Image, Apply Image. And this allows me to take any channel from any layer and apply it into that empty layer. So here merged means the whole document, including that empty layer. But we're going to take just the blue channel. And the blending doesn't matter since it was an empty layer, but we're essentially putting it in normal mode. If there's something in the layer, this blending selection here will matter. So right now I'm just putting the blue channel in there, and like that. Now I know ultimately I can get the sky from the red channel, but let's see, I want to get a little more contrast in this image. So I'm going to use the green channel to help me out with that. So I'm going to create a new empty layer here. This will be my green channel. And now if I go now to apply image and I leave this at merged, the green channel is exactly like the blue channel. It's not going to be any different. I have to go down to the background and find the actual green channel from the original color image. Now that is in there, and now that looks different. See, there's the green channel, there's the blue channel. So I'm going to use the green to increase the contrast of the blue. And we're going to do that using, we'll use soft light. Okay, so soft light sort of just pops the contrast. The things that are lighter in this green channel will make the underlying image a little lighter, and the things that are darker will make the underlying image a little darker. So I'm a little concerned that it's too dark. Maybe we'll reduce the opacity here just a little bit. And I'd like to get these highlights to come out a little stronger, and I certainly don't mind if the rocks lighten up just a little bit, but I really want to force those highlights. So I'm going to put a curve in there. There's no reason I can't. So I'm going to select a curves adjustment, and I don't care at all what happens to the sky. I know the sky is the lightest thing in this image, but I really don't care. I want to get maximum contrast elsewhere. So I'm going to move my curve and look at the lighter striations in the rock here. I want to make sure that I don't push it too far. So see here, now it's clipping to white. So that's too far. But if I can get it just to the point before it starts to clip, then I've got maximum brightness in that stripe. And it's being applied everywhere in the image, right? So I'm getting a little more contrast and a little more detail in the highlights. Now, of course, this ruins the sky, but we know how to fix that, don't we? I'm going to put an empty layer there at the top. That's going to be my red, and I have to get the red from the bottom layer, so I'll go Image, Apply Image. I'm going to go to that background layer, get the red channel, and this red channel layer, everything in this layer is lighter than the underlying image except for the sky. So let's go ahead and change this to darken. There's our darker sky has come in. And now I have a nice dramatic black and white rendering of this color image. Maximum contrast in areas of interest, and it's really revealing the striations in the sedimentary rock. There's one little problem here. And if you could see, there's a kind of a little halo. I think this is due to some chromatic aberration in the lens. So that red channel is either a different size or is displaced somehow. So let's see if we can't just nudge it a little bit. I'll go to the new move tool and then just use the arrow keys to nudge it down until that little halo disappears. And I think that probably takes care of most of the issue. Yeah. Okay. Now I have just a little kind of stripe at the top, but so we'll just crop that out. I get the crop tool, and you'll notice when you use the crop tool, sometimes it sort of snaps to the edge. In order to prevent that from happening, because I want to get really close to that little white line, hold down the Control key, and I could get it much closer. There we go. All right. So there's our black and white. And now we can explore toning, colorizing this black and white. Because I didn't change the image into grayscale, I actually have a color image. My bottom layer here is color. And all of these black and white layers are actually RGB. They're just monochrome RGB based on the channels of the color image. So because it's still in RGB, we can actually colorize it. And one method that I like to use is the photo filter here. If we click on that, it's an adjustment layer type. And it allows me to kind of pick a filter that corresponds to things that I'm familiar with from the traditional film days of photography. And we can actually have a nice little sepia preset here, so I can get kind of a sepia toned image. Maybe I can make it a little richer color by just adding a little more density to it here. So now you have a color tone that would be sort of a traditional approach to black and white, adding a little bit of warm tone to it. And I will show you one more little trick here. We're going to create a split tone effect. Again, I'll go back to my photo filter here. And this time we'll pick a cooling filter. So now I have the cooling effect on top of the warm effect. And I can get a split between these two layers here using the blending options. So I go to my layer options flyaway here, select blending options. Now my blending options, I'm interested in this blend if area here, and I want to blend through the top cool layer to see the underlying warm layer, and I'm just going to move this black slider over until we see now parts of the brown or color layer showing up underneath. But right now there's a very hard edge transition. It's because it's transitioning right at this one level. So if I want to make a smoother transition, the trick here is to split this little slider apart. So I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key and click and drag it apart to get a much smoother transition. You notice how it's wrapping into the clouds a bit more. And so that's now the split tone effect. And you can see what I have is the highlights are cool and the shadows are warm. All right, well, I hope you like that. I think that covers most of the things that you need to know about black and white, and certainly will get you a long way towards perfecting your own black and white conversions. Thank you for watching. Please consider checking out my website, where I share various other tutorials, as well as my blog, where you can find articles, tutorials, and my recent photography adventures. I look forward to sharing with you again very soon. Thank you.